This is a historical land claim going back a couple of hundred years.
Tonight, protests continue in Caledonia, Ontario to stop construction of a housing project. Good evening, I'm Melissa Ridgen with your APTN National News. A 10-year-old boy was shot and killed in a home at the Samson Cree Nation in Alberta last week. Now, police say they have charged a 13-year-old in his death. APTN's Chris Stewart has the latest.
At 4 a.m. on August 5th, the Mascouchees RCMP received a call about gunfire in a residence at the Samson Cree Nation, about an hour south of Edmonton. There, they found the body of a 10-year-old boy. A 13-year-old was taken into custody at that time. The 13-year-old has been charged with manslaughter with a firearm. Due to their ages, the two boys have not been named. The RCMP will not comment on the investigation, citing the age of the two boys involved. They did confirm that they knew each other. On Sunday night, community members gathered outside the band office and held a candlelight vigil and offered prayers. Chief Vernon Saddleback said the community is devastated. The 13-year-old will appear in a Wetaskiwin court on September 2nd. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Thanks, Chris. Forest defenders are occupying an old-growth forest on Vancouver Island to prevent a logging company from cutting it down. The group says that it's the last intact watershed of the San Juan River system. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
A collection of 30 people from across Vancouver Island have set up a blockade at Fairy Creek watershed near Port Renfrew, BC. In July, Teal Jones, the largest privately owned timber harvesting company in the province, started construction on a road in the area to begin logging. An independent study released in the spring shows less than 3% of original ancient coastal rainforest remains due to logging in BC. For nearly 4 decades, Saul Obress has been fighting to preserve forests around the world. He said immediate action was needed for the Fairy Creek watershed.
6% roughly of the best bottomland ancient trees are protected. The rest has either all been logged or is about to be logged. And at this point in time, there is the intention by the logging companies to essentially eradicate the remaining old-growth forest.
Another action the protesters are calling for is for the province to release their old-growth strategic review. That independent review was delivered to the government back in the spring. BC Forest Minister Doug Donaldson emailed a statement to APTN News that they plan to release the report in late summer or early fall. The release of the report will lay out the plan for the future, but the implementation of the report will require government-to-government engagement with First Nations and include discussions for the environmental community, workers, industry, and communities. By working together, we can and will find a better path forward to better manage our old-growth forests. The group reached out to Pacheedaht First Nation, but are not sure where the local First Nation stands regarding the Fairy Creek watershed protection. The forest defenders say their next action will depend on what they see in the government's old-growth report. They believe there is an economic impact that will go along with an environmental one. Towns like Port Renfrew benefit from tourism due to the protection of these ancient forests.
The standing forest, in terms of its tourism potential, is enormous and ties in with these other protected areas that surround us, the small areas that surround Port Renfrew, where people can visit these forests, and they want to visit, and they want to come from all over the world.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
Black people in Ontario are more likely to be shot and killed by police. That's the conclusion of a new report by the Ontario Human Rights Commission. It also said that they face a higher likelihood of being arrested and charged. Ontario's Premier and Solicitor General had this to say at a press conference this afternoon.
Well, I think it's so important that we continue working with the Black community and helping them any way we can. And that's what our government's doing with I reach out to the community always. I go right into the community and talk to them and listen to their concerns.
So as you know, the recommendation to the province was very specific about collecting race-based data, and as of January 1st, 2020, we have been doing that. We are compelling police services across Ontario to submit race-based data for any kind of intervention that has use of force included.
We want to hear what you think about Ontario's move to address police violence against coloured people. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptn news. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news. A men's healing group in Saskatchewan used to meet in person for support, but COVID-19 ended that. But they committed to healing and found a new way to support each other. Priscilla Wolf has the story.
In January, a group of men in La Ronge, Saskatchewan, starts gathering for talking circles to help themselves heal. But because of the pandemic, Men of the North founder Chris Morasti says they are adapting to social distancing by helping their community.
The Men of the North is a support group that supports the men in our community. So we get together once a week, sometimes 2 times a week, and then we talk about those things we're not supposed to talk about. The men are healing themselves by taking action and helping elders and their community by pitching in. This pandemic hit. March 16th was our next meeting, but we had to postpone it during this pandemic. So we kind of shifted our focus from the Men in the North helping the men in the community to the men helping the community now. Morasti says 15 of the men volunteer their time on a regular basis to help with these deliveries. We are delivering groceries, prescriptions, cleaning supplies. We are unloading food trucks, shipments coming up to northern communities as donations. So we're cleaning, we're sanitizing everything. The delivery men are using protective personal equipment and delivering with no contact. We do got gloves, we do got masks, we do got coveralls, hand sanitizers, disinfectant sprays, anything else that we need to help us to avoid getting this virus. And then we deliver to your doorstep. We don't come into your home, we just deliver to your doorstep, we knock, and then we get back in our vehicles. People near La Ronge can go to the Men of the North Facebook page to contact them about getting help with their errands. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A young entrepreneur making a bright future off an old family tradition, and it involves one of everyone's favorite foods. Here's Tina House.
West Vancouver is known for its affluent homes, oceanfront condos, and amazing view. But here in another part of West Vancouver is this little stand along Capilano Road. Cars are lined up and business is good for Rihanna Lockhart. The 24-year-old nursing care student has owned and operated her own fry bread stand for the last 8 months, and she says it helps pay for her schooling.
I never thought I'd be doing it until December, but here I am, out here, braving the cold.
She says she goes through 60 cups of flour a day, and that makes almost 70 pieces of bannock. Her recipe is a family secret that's been passed down generations.
The recipe is passed down from my dad, my mom, and my grandma. I copied theirs, but then I took it and I made it my own.
She says she's always been an entrepreneur and started at the age of 8.
Funny story with that. I used to sell rocks as a kid, and my parents were like, "What? You just sold rock?" My mom actually didn't believe me. She thought I was lying. She thought I took money out of people's houses, but sure enough, we went in. Yep, she sold us a rock for $5. So ever since then, I just knew I like selling things. So 2 pieces, that's $5.
She's excited about the future.
Just expanding, just making everybody love bannock and kind of just bringing that traditional sense to everybody, honestly, is what I hope to happen in the future for this little business of mine.
And one piece of bannock at a time, she's making her dreams come true. Tina House, APTN National News, West Vancouver.
Obviously, a story from earlier this year still makes us very hungry to look at that delicious fry bread. We have to take a quick break, but still ahead, a support group. We've got more news ahead. Stay with us. Off to the east coast, we've got 28 in sunshine for St. John's, 28 rain for Halifax. La Grande River, 23 and sunny skies. Nain, 30 and sunshine. Quebec City, some rain, 29 degrees, 32 and some showers for Montreal. Toronto, 27 and cloud, 26 and sunshine for Sault Ste. Marie. Thunder Bay, 29 and sunny. Kapuskasing, 26 and sunshine. 24 and sunny in the Pas. Norway House, 23 with some showers expected. 27 and sunny in Winnipeg, 28 for Dauphin and Brandon, sunny skies there. Yorkton, 27 and sunny, 26 is for Saskatoon and North Battleford. 23 in Meadow Lake, 22 in La Ronge, sunny skies there, 18 with some showers expected in Stony Rapids. Welcome back. Many communities across the north are deeply rooted in traditional culture and guided by protocol passed on from generation to generation. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs looked at one Sawtooth community known for its emphasis on spirituality. Here's another look at that story.
The doors are always open to the Prophet's house.
I feel connected along with all those photos of the elders. That's May and Moth, the one with the Christmas tree. And
Candace Ferdinand comes here during prayer to center herself. Ferdinand recently graduated as a social worker and wants to help others. The key to healing? Root oneself in traditional knowledge and spirituality.
And what that means is, like, we survive so long. Before you start telling stories, make sure you know it well before you say it.
Deline is home to roughly 530 Satugotne Dene who live on the western shores of Great Bear Lake. In 1825, colonizer Sir John Franklin introduced Christianity. About 100 years later, a man from Ray, NWT, named Ea, became one of 4 modern prophets in the area. He gave more than 30 prophecies to the people of Deline between 1857 and 1940. His spiritual guidance is respected protocol.
He was the one that taught the people about the next life, but then he also talked about how you should respect people.
Mandy Bea is an activist and knowledge holder in Deline. She says her community is spiritual because they follow the Dene laws defined by love, unity, and justice.
And I think that really has a lot to do with our ancestors really went through a lot of hardships to survive, especially in such a harsh, cold climate. So I think every day you're sort of walking that balance of sort of between life and death quite often.
Like many here, she says Dene knowledge is holistic and interconnected with the land. There is a well-attended spiritual gathering that brings people from across the north into Deline annually. It honors Dene tradition, culture, and community. Still, there is a prevalent Christian influence here. Many community members are devout Roman Catholic. But the ones APTN spoke with said religion is not seen as a competition, but just another spiritual practice and a personal decision. Bea and her kids follow the worn-down path her grandfather walked daily. It leads to the Roman Catholic Church.
I asked an elder from my community here. There's so many different religions, and we see this all the time. We have one in our a big religion in our communities up in the north is the Roman Catholic religion, but you also have the Protestants, and there's all kinds of different religions in the world. And so I'm like, well, which one is right? Like, how do you know which one is the right one to follow? And it was a really beautiful and simple explanation. He kind of thought about it for a second, and he's like, if I wanted to go to Toledo, which is just down the river here, he's like, I can take a boat, I can walk, I can fly. There's many different ways of getting to Toledo. There's different methods to use to get to Toledo. But in the end, we're all going, and religion's the same way, we're all going to the same place, but there's just a different method of getting there.
In 2015, Deline signed a first-of-its-kind deal with Canada for self-government. Much like the Dene teachings of tolerance, Deline will not be told and not tell others how to worship, nor do they need to be told to. They always have, and most likely always will. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Deline.
It's a great story. The Government of Canada is funding Indigenous businesses to the tune of $40 million. They made that announcement on the weekend for World Indigenous Peoples Day. Economic Development Minister Melanie Joly said the money will be delivered by Canada's regional development agencies. It will fund new community centres and complexes. We've got the latest on developments at blockade in Caledonia. That's coming up after the break. First, here's the rest of your weather forecast for the west and the north. Starting off in northern Alberta, we've got 19 and showers for Grand Prairie, 22 and sunshine for Fort McMurray. Edmonton, 21 with some showers expected, 27, lots of sunshine in Lethbridge. Vancouver and Victoria, 21, mostly sunny skies, 19 and showers in Quesnel. 15 and rain for Fort Nelson, 17 for Prince George and Smithers and showers. Dawson City and Mayo, cloud with some rain, 18 degrees, same with Beaver Creek. 21, mixes sun and cloud in Waughty, 19 and showers for Norman Wells. Colville Lake, 18 and showers, same with Inuvik. Politics, mostly sunny and 11. Chesterfield, 14 and sunny skies. Repulse Bay, 9 and sunshine. Tallyoak, 14 and sunny. Igloolik, 10, mostly sunny skies, and Iqaluit, 13 and sunshine. Welcome back. Bev Jacobs is a Mohawk lawyer and Associate Dean of Law at the University of Windsor. She is closely watching the 1492 land back lane reclamation that's going on now at Caledonia. She joins us from Six Nations of the Grand River Territory to share her thoughts on the situation. Beverly, what needs to be understood about what's happening at the 1492 land back lane camp?
Well, what needs to be understood is that this is a historical land claim going back a couple of hundred years that has not been addressed. There's a process that that didn't work with Caledonia, so negotiations had already begun at that time, and they failed because Canada couldn't produce title to the property, not only in Caledonia at the Douglas Estates, and it's also happening here. So that's a very historical concepts, very historical information that the public needs to know, and it would take probably a whole few hours to describe the historical piece itself.
Well, let's go to injunctions. More recently, less historic, more recent injunctions were granted on August 7th. What can you tell us about those?
So I know that any court and anybody can go in and get an injunction, and lawyers can go in and obtain the information, and they have a limited amount of information when they go to court. They don't have the full story, so the judges are getting information from lawyers that don't know the history, that also have they done the title to the territory, have they looked at all of the land claims and the history. Again, it goes right back. Keep going back to the land claims process, the history. We never gave up title to those lands and territories, and in fact Canada owes us money for those lands and resources.
What's next for you guys from a legal perspective?
Actually, I don't know. I'm not legal counsel. I'm a community member. I'm from Six Nations. I'm a lawyer. I'm a law professor, now associate dean at the Windsor Law School. I have supports from around the world, and so my connection with all of the young people who are at the site. I know them since they were babies. They were there at the site in Caledonia in 2006. So I 100% support them and know that what they're doing is according to Haudenosaunee law and being land protectors. They're following our rule of law.
Well, Beverly, thanks for taking the time to share this this updated situation with us. You take care.
Yes, thanks a lot.
We plan to have a full story about the situation at Caledonia, but are having some technical difficulties getting that to you. We'll have it for you tomorrow, including a number of arrests that have been made and those 2 court injunctions that Ms. Jacobs mentioned in that interview, what they entail and what's planned next. We're going now to northern Saskatchewan, where a university course is underway. Here's an encore of APTN's Priscilla Wolf's story about future school teachers in Cumberland House and how they will be well grounded in their Cree language and culture when they graduate.
The community of Cumberland House in northern Saskatchewan is running a new education program. It's a 4-year course called the Cree Teachers Education Program. It leads to a degree from the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon. Lily Mackay-Carrier is coordinator of the program, which started in September.
We want them for all the 4 years. We want them to flourish. We want them to gain as much knowledge as they can. They're in a program, a 4-year education program, which focuses on Indigenous languages and Indigenous studies.
Mackay-Carrier says the Cree language and culture builds a strong foundation for these future teachers.
At the end of it, they'll be teachers, but they'll be teachers who are prepared to go into the world knowing who they are, where they come from.
Donna Carrier is one of the 35 students taking the program. She says she is showing her children the importance of language in teaching Cree children.
To show them that I can go back to school and then I'm here every day to drop them off, and I'm here too as well. And I show them that I'm always here for every class.
She looks forward to full-time work after graduation.
I'm hoping to stay in the community, but if I'm offered a job somewhere else, I will go to the other job. But if I'm offered a job here in the reserve or the town, I'll go.
Tanse, Larry Creighton Tisnigason, we patch kita magusigi sigaw, agota mantuawasis kagi nati wigit.
Fellow CTEP student Larry Crate says learning his language and culture is helping him.
And then to have more confidence to doing it too, and that's what Lily Mackay-Carrier is teaching us, our instructor in Cree, is that to take pride in your language and to learn it more better.
Mackay-Carrier adds the Cree language and culture component of the program will help all 35 students succeed.
When they're finished their 4 years and they get their degree, they can go teach anywhere in the world. But wherever they go and teach, they're more informed about the historical timeline of Indigenous people. They're more informed about reclaiming the language as one of the things that people can do to decolonize themselves.
Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Cumberland House.
Well, that is your news for this Monday. Be sure to get the APTN News app for your smartphone to keep up to the minute on Indigenous news that matters to you. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night.